Live, more or less, from Las Vegas. With Mark Anthony, I'm Rick Rosen, and this is Good Sports. Good morning, Mark. What's happening, buddy?
Good morning. Oh,
One
yeah,
morning
it's
above dirt is good morning.
that. That's exactly right. I totally agree with you on that one. So what are we down to? The final four now?
Yeah, we're doing the Final Four at spring break. They're having a big controversy, Mark. The Indiana passed a new religious freedom law that went into effect very recently, last week or so. And supposedly it gives I think the basis of this law is that people can go in and say, you have a drugstore, I want birth control pills, and I'm not married, and I'm promiscuous, and whatever. And they say, we don't want to do that. We don't want to be part of that, or we don't want to have to sell something to someone we don't believe in. And so they passed this law, and they worded it in such a manner that the gay and lesbian community, for the most part, being the most upfront, said, hey, that lets you discriminate against us. We get married and we can get a valid marriage certificate here in Indiana, and we want a wedding cake. We can go into the best wedding cake shop in town, and the guy can say, no, I would make you a wedding cake, but I'm not going to do it because you're gay, which I'm kind of in between there. I should have a right to serve or not serve whoever I like, but I guess they are using kind of bogus or old-time thoughts on that. So anyhow, the gay and lesbian community lit the fire, and now it is a raging forest fire for Indiana. They're going to change the law back, and they're going to do this and do that. And some coaches, every time they have the Final Four, they have a coaches get-together, and damn near every coach in every major sport goes. And I think it gives them an excuse to get free tickets to the basketball game. But it's also this big get-together, and several coaches have chosen not to go this year. Probably the most prominent is Pat Hayden, former quarterback at USC, who played quite a long time in the NFL and now is the athletic director at USC. And he has a gay son. And he said, I'm the proud father of a gay son, and I'm not going to Indianapolis. So there are some ramifications already, Mark, but the Final Four is going to go on. I think it was Charles Barkley, one voice in many, that said they should boycott the Final Four and move it immediately somewhere else. It's kind of nice, I guess, that they take a moral stand every once in a while, but they sure seem to let a lot of stuff go by the wayside. But nonetheless, that's going to overshadow some of the Final Four, Mark. But when we get to Saturday, man, you're talking two heavyweight fights on the same card, and rarely does it look as good on paper as this set of two games on Saturday. They might very well be anticlimactic to the finals, particularly if Kentucky gets beat. There won't be any undefeated. If Kentucky gets beat, Wisconsin's in the Final Four. Yee cheese! it just ain't going to attract the same number of people as it would if Kentucky goes in undefeated, which they're trying to be the first team since Indiana in 1976 to win it.
Okay, but
UNLV went with a better team than Kentucky's. Go ahead.
Hold up. Let's go back to the first topic there, the new law. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Same law that Bill Clinton signed into law as a federal law, but that was okay because he's a Democrat.
Worded differently. Yes, it's the same law. It's worded, and like I say, that's the problem. Is the wording of it leaves this loophole. Go ahead.
No, it's that it's a Republican governor is the problem, first of all. Second of all,
aren't they all?
Everyone that is, most of the people that I've heard come out, we need to boycott, blah, 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 are people in need of having their name validated, okay? Other than Charles Barkley. Me. Okay?
Yeah.
I like the coach at Duke that said,
Mike Krzyzewski.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with the game. Leave my boys alone. Let's play a game. Let the politicians do this, And I just thought it was funny how the media tried to pull this coach in it. And the coach is like, just basically said, let us play our game. Leave my team
And
alone.
both sides aren't innocent in this, Mark. Even the
No.
gay and lesbian community. You know, listen, you can't have that many people of the same sex in one spot at one time, whether it's a football program or a basketball program. That statistically, I will guarantee you there are gays and lesbians playing major college sports, bringing in major money, and doing this and that, and they're still doing it in the anonymity of I haven't come out yet. It would cost me this or cost me that or do this bad or that bad. So it seems hypocritical to say, hey, wait. Uh, I think that in and of itself is discrimination against gays. If you're proud, be proud, man. You know, the only way you're going to get total acceptance, at least as far as I'm concerned, is to act acceptable. And that hiding just because you're afraid of what somebody else thinks or says is not what I think. They're these groups that promote that activity or that lifestyle or that proclivity or whatever ivity you want to put on there. Um, they I think they're lacking in saying, hey, we have gay players, and
Yes.
here's one. Duke has one, or North Carolina has one, or UCLA has 8, or San Francisco is, I mean, whatever their numbers are, I don't think they've done a good job in holding up their part of the deal. So both
No.
sides need to kind of chill out and sit down and work it out, man. I don't know if the
Play a game.
governor or the legislature in Indiana who passed the law couldn't just say, hey, man, so look around. Some of us are gay,
Yeah.
and we're working together or whatever. Is that really honestly where we want to draw the line here in America? We got people blowing stuff up and shooting cops in the back of the head. And we
Yeah.
want to say, hey, we need to fight over who you make love to and how you make love to them. And if you love them, I'm going to be the judge. It somehow damages me because of who and how you love. I don't see that, Mark. So
Well,
anyway,
well, I just get mad because they try to pull people into it that have, it's
yeah,
just, because they want to find the bad guy in it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so then Duke's coach says leave us alone, and they still badmouth him because he did not step into it, you know.
yeah.
He-
And Krzyzewski, of all things, simply because he is the coach of Basketball USA, and which in turn is our Olympic team. Whatever, he has
Right.
probably more standing universally. I mean, this is not just an American issue, but here we are on the front pages and all this big controversy, as Jimmy Fallon says, controversy. And you've got Krzyzewski, who has to face the international media quite a bit more than most any other coach, certainly more than any other basketball coach in America. And he says, I'll take my chances that you guys are going to ask me about basketball. Leave me alone about it. What do I care about the gays?
Yeah.
You know, and I think, uh, and I don't think Krzyzewski is a big proponent of the gay lifestyle or anything like that, but I think he's also understanding that it's there and it doesn't affect me adversely, so screw it.
Exactly.
Let's play
You know.
basketball.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay. So now we're down to the final four, and this is what is this? Kentucky is 2 wins away from a perfect season,
Yeah,
perfect
two
year.
away. And
Wow.
the last team to go in undefeated, Wichita State, got beat. UNLV certainly went in with a team that was thought of in the same vein. They talked about UNLV when they had Larry Johnson and Stacey Augmon and Greg Anthony and Anderson Hunt and George Ackles was their starting 5, that they could have beaten pro teams. Now, that's asinine to even think that. But they said the same thing about Kentucky's team this year. I think UNLV's team in Kentucky would have been one of the greatest basketball games ever if you could have a time machine and get them both in the same place, same time at their peak. Man, it would
Yeah.
be Ali Frazier. It would be whatever affirmed in Ali Dar. I mean, you just go down the line of the great matchups of all time. Yeah, I think they match up pretty well, and probably pretty well in UNLV's favor. So I'll always believe that Tark would have outcoached Calipari, and they would have been that universal. And the year they lost, obviously they had a much better team than the year they won it. The year they won it, they lost 5 games and just got hot towards the end of the season and steamrolled everybody, including Duke, who knocked them out when Greg Anthony fouled out. And speaking of Greg Anthony, and I guess back to the Indianapolis thing a little bit, this is a guy, one of the finest announcers, one of the most knowledgeable gentleman that's been on the air and able to communicate, even though he's a very intelligent being, right down to the nitty gritty. If you were a first time ever seeing basketball being played, you could understand it when Greg Anthony explained it on the air, and also you could be a very big time basketball fan who knew damn near everything and also understand what he meant and the nuances that he gave out. And I think he got the shit end of the stick. He's lost his job over hiring a hooker or attempting to, or whatever. You're on the road, you're whatever, and Mr. Stiffy pops up and says, "Hey, I need company," and the guy lost his job. The moral kingpins at CBS and the NCAA. Oh, that's too bad, and NBA too. Again, I'm not big on hypocrites, but Greg Anthony should be doing this game, and we miss him. And between him and Brian Williams, okay, let the guys back on. We listened to him and watched him and enjoyed him. So, speaking of people we enjoy, Mark, did you see the video clip of Tom Brady puckering up assholes all across the East Coast, jumping off the cliff? About an 80-foot cliff, and he had Gisele Bundchen videotape it and then put it up on his Facebook. Did you see it yet?
No.
Tom Brady jumps off a frickin' cliff, and it's Tom Brady. It's not photoshopped. It's a video clip of Tom Brady on vacation, and there's some kids there, and I'm sure it's Uncle Tom. Come on, man, you can do it. Whatever it is, he jumped off the cliff and posted the video to his Facebook. And they got out safely, and he certainly wasn't the first guy to look down there and say, I bet I could jump off here and survive. And the big backlash, oh my God, they should void his contract, and they should do this, and he should never be allowed to do that anymore. And New England, for their part, has kept quiet. They've had enough crap with Aaron Hernandez and all that stuff, and the Deflate Gate and everything that always seems to surround the Patriots when they have success. They said, screw it, it's Tom Brady, and here's a guy who between him and his wife, they bring in $75 million or thereabouts every year. That's more than $1.5 million every week. When you have that much money, how much crap can you buy before you just need to buy a warehouse to keep all the crap you can't possibly live long enough to use there? So what do? You do things instead of buy stuff. And, the guy's a 4-time Super Bowl winner, a 3-time Super Bowl MVP, and he's earned it. If that's what he wants to do, okay. When somebody, I forget the cat from Indianapolis hit him low and took out his knee and helped change the rules in the NFL, so you can't go low on the quarterback or whatever. Right. He got hurt playing football. Well, that's just part of the deal. It was a cheap shot and blah blah blah, but that's all right. The guy's not going to walk right, but he entertained us and we buy the tickets, so that's cool. Guy did something with the money we bought. That made its way down to him from us buying the tickets or buying the beer that sponsors the TV shows. Now the guy wants to, he's a multi-millionaire and decided, I think I want to jump off the cliff. He could have bought the damn cliff.
Yes.
And I don't think anybody really has a right to say much to Tom Brady. He's Tom damn Brady. Well, and that's, his part of that $75 million. They're saying, well, think of the business. Think of how much money's involved. Well, think of how much money's involved for him.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's the
people are
stupidity.
funny. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh my God, he's doing something. He's having a life. He's having fun. God.
They would have put training wheels on Evel Knievel's bike.
Oh God,
Screw 'em.
yes.
And I, I don't think OSHA was a big fan of Evel Knievel. No.
Yes, yes, they
But
would have. Yes, they would have lowered the fountains at Caesar's Palace, put a bigger ramp on both sides,
and it
and
would have to be
yes,
soft water,
yeah.
no minerals, and clear out the spectators because they're in jeopardy. By the way, there was a tragic accident earlier this month, Mark, 8 or 10 days ago. One of the sports cars, air got under it, perfectly flat on the bottom, no openings or anything like that. Aerodynamically, I guess it's better when they're on the track, but he got up in the air, and the air caught it and flipped him into the fence, into the fans, and a couple fans died. And it may change how they do allow spectators right up near the fence or whatever, but on road courses and stuff, you really don't have much choice. Can't
No,
put grandstands every damn where, and
yeah,
people want to see where the action is and stuff like that. So I guess that's the chances you take. But anyway, thoughts and prayers to the families and friends of those who lost their lives being fans. It's always tough when fans pay the ultimate price. You know?
yes, yes.
My
Well,
hometown, dude, Bull went. God, I was tiny. One of the first things I remember, I guess, in life,
you were never
a
tiny.
bull.
Come
They
on.
used, yeah, I was the smallest of the three children my mom had. Anyway, they used to set up a fence in the arena when the bulls were always last, and it took 5 minutes, and they had the holes already dug, and they would put this fence in and put it in the ground to give it some support, and it was the bull fence, and the bulls had to stay inside there, and it was almost like putting up a boxing arena in the a boxing ring in the middle of a big arena floor. So, as we know, it's not a whole lot of effort for a bull to clear a 5.5, 6 foot fence, and from a standing start. And a bull decided he wanted to see outside. Well, he did, and then there was another 100 feet or so, or 80 feet, to the fence, and right behind that was fans in the stands. And a guy and his wife met another couple, and two of the women got to sit up high, and the other two sat down low, and the bull come up over the bull fence and went into the stands, and it killed the guy.
Oof.
Yeah, I guess he didn't see it coming, but nonetheless, that was I always thought about that, and I do every once in a while think about that when we're down there on the floor at the PBR. And but by the way, Last Man Standing is coming in May.
Yes, yes, and they're doing it as a
Last Cowboy Standing, and it's going to be different this year. 3 days of fun, frolic, and
parties.
parties, and little guys getting the crap beat out of them by big old mean bulls. No bushwhacker, man. Going to be a different
No,
season in the Pro Bull Riders.
yeah. Well,
JB Mooney's hurt.
well, it's time for some new blood. You know, it's
Well, yeah.
that's a tough sport.
The new kid, yeah, the new kid from Brazil was doing real well. I think it was named Valdez. I think. Kike.
Yeah.
Anyway, I believe that's his nickname. But that Brazilian contingent, they did a thing before the broadcast last Saturday or Sunday, and they had the Brazilian contingent, and everybody was there but Adriano. And I'm a big Adriano Moraes fan.
Yes.
He carried Pro Bull Riders, and he's a special guy. And I guess to a lot of people, he has been a jerk or can be a jerk or whatever. He has never been anything but the coolest of superstars to me. I've never asked him for a thing that he didn't accommodate me, and he'll come down, Mark, and I'll hand him my camera. He'll stand in the pit with us, and you've seen me do it. I
Yeah.
hand him my camera, and he takes photos with it. And we talked, and I said, "Here, man, see what we have to do," and he liked that, And he's one of those guys that's in depth. But I felt very bad that the Brazilians seemed to leave Adriano out, and
Well,
but
but
that's the group that's fighting for it, because, like I say, JB Mooney's hurt. Everybody's getting beat up already in the season, and it's March.
yes,
We ended
yes.
here in October. So,
Hey, before we leave this topic, Adriano's I have seen when he's been bad, but it's because of a fan.
Yeah.
You know, Adriano's.
Something happened with him or his family? Yeah.
Well, it was. I put Adriano's like Barkley, Charles Barkley. Okay,
You like
when
Barkley, don't you?
yeah, because I met him, and I was in and I was in Phoenix when he was playing basketball, and he always hung out at a particular bar in his neighborhood, and he was very, very friendly with the people in the bar. And as long as you gave him that space, he was the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
But if you got, I mean, if you got into his space and you interrupted him talking to his family, yeah, he was going to turn ugly on you.
Yeah.
You know?
And rightly so. Dude.
Yeah.
They live in a damn fishbowl.
And Adrianos is basically, the god to the PBR. And it's like you said, he is nothing but a gentleman. Inside the arena, outside of the arena, I've seen him out in the concourses being smobbed by people, and, he's got that smile on him. He's saying hello to him. He's signing the autographs, and then somebody's going to ask him for something a little bit more, and, and Adrianos is going to say, please respect me, and no, and then they edge him on, and then, and then Adrianos all of a sudden turns on him, and then everyone jumps on Adrianos because, he's an asshole, and it's like, no, you got to back up.
This is a guy that has the attitude to be the first three-time Pro Bull Rider world champion. He's done nothing but ride bulls and be tough his entire life. I mean, people don't walk up and start effing with pit bulls.
Yes.
That's the same kind of attitude that led him to those 3 championships, was that pit bull kind. And that's how he rode bulls when he was riding. It was me and you. He had the one arm, for people that don't know a whole lot, he had the one arm that he built up because that was his riding arm. And it was noticeably bigger by almost 5 inches around, bigger than his left arm. And you see that he couldn't get the sleeves of his shirt down over it, Mark, and now it's shrunk a little bit. I don't think he works out near as much as he did, but I mean, that's focused, dude, and he is protective of his family. But I followed Adriano. I've been doing this, covering the Pro Bull Riders, since he couldn't speak English.
I remember
and
those
he had
days.
to have an interpreter, and he could speak very, very limited English. And he realized that this is where the money is, and this is where we are.
Yeah.
And he is now a U.S. citizen. I'm going to learn the language and be able to do the things that I want to do, the visions that he had in the sport. And so he's very, very eloquent now. He speaks English, and he interprets for the other Brazilians, but he brought them to the front.
Yes.
And for them to turn their backs on Adriano, I don't care what kind of asshole he is. Ted Williams was an asshole, and baseball turned their back on him somewhat until later on. Yes. And it's unfair. And I like Adriano, and I wish the PBR itself has no problem whatsoever with Adriano, and I think they give him his just desserts. But the Brazilian contingent needs to class up a little bit. They owe Adriano more than they'll ever be able to pay him. They owe him.
Right. I will never forget. In the media room, he had just won his 3rd world championship. Somebody from ESPN asked him, "Now what happens?" And Adriano goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "So what happens tomorrow?" And Adriano goes, "I take my kids to school."
Yeah.
And everybody in the room just kind of broke out into an applause because we got it. This ESPN guy just went, "Huh?"
Yeah.
Well,
I asked him. He was not a fan whatsoever of the points change.
Nope.
Much like NASCAR did with the chase, the Pro Bull Riders changed their point system in the year that Adriano won over fellow Brazilian Guilherme Marchi. And on the very last bull of the very last day, Guilherme Marchi, with the replay, touched the bull not
Yeah.
to regain his balance or whatever. God said, "Hey, give me that hand and touch the bull." It had nothing to do, no effect whatsoever on the bull ride, other than it's in the rules. If you touch the bull, you're out.
Right.
And as he was disqualified from that ride, it cost him the world championship, and it gave it to Adriano. The year before, if with the scoring system that was in place, it would not have mattered. Jeremy Marchi would have been a two-time world champion. Adriano would only have two, but he
Uh,
won. It gave him his third championship. And I asked him in the press conference, the same press conference that you're talking about, Mark. I asked him. I said, has your opinion changed now that you've won? And he was very happy to have won, and he was joyous and all that. And he said, not one bit. I
yeah.
still don't think it's fair. And me winning points that out. It should be Jeremy's championship, but it's mine, and I'm going to enjoy it.
Yes.
We all played by the same rules. So I think
Yeah.
Adriano is one of those guys. If everybody had the integrity, the sports integrity of Adriano Moraes, we'd have a hell of a lot more fun in sports.
Yes.
You know?
Definitely. Definitely. Hey. Yahoo had a sports article about basketball and football taken away from the Olympics.
Yeah, it's a bit of a long way around, but I think it's a very valid point, and it's a trending topic. At least it was yesterday or so. Um, Football, college football, and college basketball. Now college football with the playoff in the top division. Just keep bringing in enormous amounts of money, more and more and more. And I don't think that's good for college football or college basketball itself. You have the haves and the have-nots. If you look at football, the University of Texas, they're I don't know how you call it anything, but their war chest has close to $1 billion in it. And
Uh-huh.
UNLV's wanting to play on that same level playing field. Well, look around. There's billions of dollars, but they're in the damn slot machines here.
Yeah.
And UNLV ain't getting it. Tony Sanchez came over with $30 million from the Fertitas. Okay, listen, that's a tremendous amount of money, and it will certainly help UNLV's program. But when you're going against people that $30 million is what they spend on cheerleaders outfits, you're just not going to compete successfully against them. So the article says that the money that they bring in really detracts from the non-revenue producing sports, and even though there's more revenue to go around, that colleges are finding a way to do away with these sports. Title IX, they have to fund both men's and women's in equal amounts, and that means you have minor sports. I mean, you've got Gino Auriemma and UConn, and that tremendous program that they have there, and then start naming another women's program that who might be coaching or who might be playing for or what they do and how good they are at it, and it's not there. College men's wrestling and tennis and golf and those types of things do not produce revenue, but are funded by football and basketball. And they're saying that they're getting left out because of Title IX, because of several factors, that they are going down as basketball and football are going up, and that when it comes around to the Olympics, we don't have tennis players, we don't have the minor sports, women's softball, et cetera, without the college programs, and if football and basketball hurt those, it in effect hurts the Olympics. So that was the premise of this story, and I think there's some validity to it, Mark. I mean, where do you go to practice synchronized swimming? Do you just start at the Y and say, hey, you've got a nice ass and you look like you can hold your nose and swim upside down. You want to do some synchronized half drowning with us? So anyway, I think there's some validity to the report, Mark, and I don't know that there's any quick cure to it. The money's gonna win that vote every
Yes.
single frickin' time. It's just not anything I think there can be much more discussion about. Maybe somebody will say, yeah, okay, throw them $1 billion and let's get on with it. But
Yeah.
we're talking about billions of dollars. And I don't know, do we need college women's softball? Or do we need college golf? Or do we, I mean, there's golf courses. What are you really getting by giving a guy a college scholarship to have him play golf? In Las Vegas, it makes sense because we have so many world-class golf courses.
Right.
But I don't know. Nebraska has a men's golf team. Who says, "Hey, I'm going to be in Omaha. Or I'm going to be in Lincoln next week. I think I'll drag my golf clubs because of all the wonderful golf courses they have there." So, you know, some of these people have jobs simply because somebody said, "Hey, we need another sport."
Yeah.
When Title IX came along, there's a whole lot of women's sports coaches that have jobs or got their jobs or had manufactured jobs because of that. They had to equal it out, so they invented some women's sports, or at least rejuvenated them, or juvenated them, I guess. You juvenate them first so you can rejuvenate them. But whatever they did, they brought these sports into existence, or at least rose them up out of the ashes like a phoenix with the money that was generated from the other two big sports, and said, "Hey, we got to have some women's sports. You guys look like you'd like to play softball." When I was doing the announcing for the University of Southern Colorado, which is now CSU Pueblo, the D2 national champions in football this year, I was doing the announcing for Coach Dan Sanchez and the Thunderwolves, and the girls softball coach heard me announcing, and I get a call from the coach, and he says, I have a question for you. He says, and I almost have to tell you, you need to do this. And I said, "What's that, Coach?" And he said, "The girls coach wants you to announce their games. The softball coach wants you to announce their games." And I said, "Wow, Coach, you know, that's a lot of, they play mostly double headers or whatever, and yeah, I can do that, but why do they not have their own announcer?" He said she doesn't want her announcer, she wants you. And he said, so she can force the issue. If she goes and says he has something I don't have access to, he says it's either going to be you do it, or you do it for both, or you can't do it for either.
Ooh, yeah.
And I said, okay. So I went over there. I mean, it was double the money. They played as many games as the guys did, and the only time I did not announce their softball games was when they coincided with the baseball games. So Coach Sanchez got the priority there. But that was Title IX at its ugliest for me. You know, either you
do
it, or you're not going to do any. You know, either do more or do nothing. So, and they were very happy. The girls that played on the team were very happy to have me. The coach was tickled to have me. You know, and I did the little things, Mark. When they needed a boost, I played music that boosted them. And I went way out of my way to piss off the other team. You know, our guys our guys took pregame to whatever was hot and thumping and energetic, you know. And I played Lawrence Welk and Britney Spears and stuff when the other team was taking infield. And when my boy Jim, who's in his very, very last couple weeks, 6 weeks of fireman training up in Pahrump, and I'm so proud of him. But
cool.
he was on the team, and when he wasn't pitching, he would sit next to Dad and run the scoreboard while I was doing the scoring and the announcing and all the other silly things I did. And the baseball field was the edge of the campus, and it's built on the edge of the Great Plains, and it's the prairies out there. And pitcher gave up a long home run. And I said, "There's a souvenir for a snake. 2-run home run for Sam Christensen." And I go back and I'm writing the score and getting my song ready for the next batter and doing all the things I do. And my kid says, Dad, look out! I think this guy's coming up after you." And it was the pitcher. When they pulled him, he sat in the dugout and threw his glove and decided he was going to come rip my heart out and show it to me. And he headed up through the stands from the third base dugout where they were, and we were closer to the first base dugout, which was our home dugout, and our team saw it too, and they headed this boy off the pass, but I damn near caused a riot there for them. So I was popular with the home team. I was.
Yeah.
Did I tell you about when the umpire threw me out twice and I didn't have to leave?
Oh God.
So, yeah, this was cute.
Okay.
The Grinch movie had come out, 3 months, 4 months, something like that before baseball season started. And as I was always looking for some music or something, some way to entertain the people, I had some of the music from the movie The Grinch, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. So I knew it would come in handy at some point during the season. There was a close play at first base, and our dugout was on the first base side of the diamond. And Coach Sanchez came out, and he was a big Earl Weaver fan. Rich Dower is his best friend, a longtime Oriole, and Sanchez is a lot like Earl Weaver. You want to argue, I'll argue with you, and I'll get my nose hairs mixed in with your nose hairs. We're going to be that close, and you will know what I had for lunch because you'll be able to smell my breath. That kind of arguing guy. And I knew there would be somehow where it would come up during the season. Sure stuff. Close play at first base, and umpire calls the guy, whatever call he made, and Sanch comes bombing out of the dugout, and they're nose to nose, and it goes on for a minute or so, and I hit the music for "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch." I play maybe 10 seconds of the song, and the umpire, I see him stop in the middle and turn towards me up in the press box, and he's ejecting me. He's pointing at me, and he's tossing me out of the game. And I see now Sanch puts his hands up like this and says, I see, I'm watching there, I'm reading their lips. He says, "You can't do that. He's an employee." So, so Sanch walks down the first base line, and I wait till he gets right over to in front of the press box, and he motions for me to open the window. So I'm playing stupid, or at least being stupid. I don't know if I ever play stupid. But anyhow, I said, "Yes, coach."
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "Mr. Rosen, you've offended the umpire, and you need to turn that music off." Now, I turned it down. I didn't turn it off the entire time. So we got a minute or so of "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch." And the umpire is seething while I'm talking to the coach and playing it up. So I turn off the music, and Coach walks back to the dugout. He doesn't go to finish the argument. He heads back to the dugout. Now we're good. I turned off the music. So he gets just one step from the top step of the dugout, and the umpire says something to him. And Sanch turns around, and it's on again. It's round two. And there they are, nose to nose again. So I had music from an I Love Lucy episode in which she plays an umpire. And the music's called "Nobody Loves the Ump." So I think, well, this is the perfect time to play that. And I did. And about 20 seconds into this argument, I look, and this guy is going ballistic and throwing me out again. And he's pointing to me. He's looking around for security and whatever. He's done with me. And I see Sanch look at him again and does the same thing. "You can't do that." So he walks down the first base line, and I leave the music playing until he comes over, and he motions for me to open the window, and I do. "Yes, coach." And he says, "Mr. Rosen, once again, you've offended the umpire." And he says, "If you play any more music, it's going to be a forfeit." So I didn't play music. So every batter had their own music. So they would tell me what songs they like, and when they would come up to bat, I would play their music. And we had a kid, for instance, named Amadeo Lefebvre, and a very good player. And so when he would come to bat, his song was Amadeus. And just because of the correlation between Amadeo and Amadeus. And so I couldn't play the music anymore, and so when the guys would come up to bat, the fans would sing their songs, or at least do the whatever it was. So the batters would have their songs. So yeah, but I got thrown out of a game twice and didn't have to leave. So, but anyway, they wanted me to do their announcing for them at the girls softball simply because of this kind of issue. I think it probably goes back to a lot of the things that we discussed, Mark. The Indianapolis law and this and that. Women's golf. When I was a kid, I think that's the first thing a lot of people from my generation were aware of about lesbians or the gay world in itself was women's golf and women's sports, and then women's tennis kind of followed pretty closely behind. But there were some flannel shirt wearing women out there golfing, and that was the stereotype. Whether they were or weren't, they were associated. They were certainly bunched all together, and some of them were I'm sure straight, but there was quite a bit of animosity, and then they kind of came around to the 20th century, and I don't know if they'll ever get to the 21st century. But anyway, there's that going on. By the way, the Final Four, speaking of Indianapolis,
Yes.
the Final Four is 2 Southern teams and 2 Northern teams. And they are paired up in north-south in the finals. So we still may have a north-south final game, or we can have 2 Northern teams or 2 Southern teams. It's going to be one of the combinations. But and I think that's interesting. I mean, I don't know if they need a lot of hype for this. This game Saturday, both games Saturday, are going to be tremendous games. Getting back to the Final Four of basketball a little bit, Wisconsin and Kentucky. Styles make fights, Mark. Styles make basketball games, and this is a Wisconsin team. When you think of Wisconsin, you think of cheese and and slow horses and bigsters, meat and potatoes and cheese and stuff like that, whether it's men, women, or otherwise. This Wisconsin team can get up and down the floor and play basketball, and they play at a pretty good clip, and they knocked off North Carolina, who I think probably would have had a little better chance against Kentucky, but they're going to play, and Wisconsin's going to show up, and Kentucky's now, I think, feeling pressure. These are youngsters on Kentucky's team. They don't have seniors at Kentucky, and so these kids are two games away from immortality, or at least basketball immortality. And I think the pressure might be getting to them a little bit, Mark. They played a real close game to get to where they are, and so. And Duke and Michigan State, man, you talk about guys that have their pictures up on Mount Rushmore of basketball, college basketball. Tom Izzo and Mike Krzyzewski are up there, and they're matching up in. I mean, I don't know if there's a better coaching matchup that's ever occurred in an NCAA semifinals. You're talking about two of the biggest names and the best minds and whatever, and the greatest programs. My goodness, Michigan State, they let them boys into the dance and they go somewhere. I mean, they're a 7 seed and they're not supposed to be here, and sure stuff, man, they start the NCAA. It's like Pavlov's dog. Okay, now we're going to play basketball, and here we go. So. Again, whoever wins this national championship is going to win it. I think we're going to see last man standing, Mark. It really epitomizes that thought. The semifinals, they're going to beat the crap out of each other in the semis. You're going to have to have your A game on big time to get to the finals, and sometimes you can't do the A game twice. So the semifinals might be a bit anticlimactic. Play-wise, because there's no sense in saving anything on Saturday. You can't save it for Monday. If you don't make Monday, then it's just wasted. So guys are going to put it out this weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. Unfortunately, both games are on TBS. If you have cable, that's a good thing, but they've left the masses out. The championship game now still on CBS, and that's Monday night. But if you want to watch the semifinals, you got to find a place that has TBS and Amazingly enough, bars have heard this rumor, so they're going to have the game on. The casinos are going to have it on. On and on and on.
Speaking of
Who do you
bars and
like, Mark?
taverns,
Hey, yeah. Speaking of bars and taverns, who do you like, bud?
well, I like Kentucky. Come on.
All right.
Where are you going to be next week?
What?
Twin Peaks?
Twin Peaks. We're doing a show on Friday at Twin Peaks. Proud sponsors of the Vegas Lions, who open their season on April 11th, and we're going to be at Twin Peaks up there on Eastern, Mark. At what time is it? At
not
noon?
the
Are we doing it?
one, not the one on the Strip. This is the one
On
in
the Strip. No, we're going to the good one.
With
Oh, I
cold
love
beer.
it up at Twin Peaks. They advertise the coldest beer in town, and you can sit
Oh
there
my
and watch that.
God.
What was it at 27.6 the day we went in
Yeah.
there? Check out
That's
the
awesome.
landmark.
That's awesome. Oh,
That was cold beer. And Jewel was her name. That was our server.
yeah.
She's beautiful. But boy, I'm telling you, folks, if you're listening and you like, if the word ginger means something other than the flavor of a Chinese condiment, this girl is the embodiment of what I believe when you say she was ginger, gorgeous. Jewel was it, man. And I'm looking forward to going up there and doing the show with you. John Kelly's going to join us, Mark. Excuse me, a local radio personality here in Las Vegas, who's a good friend of ours. And so it ought to be a fun time, kind of the kickoff to the season for the Vegas Lions. And speaking of the Vegas, how's the Vegas tourist thing going with you, man?
Yeah, we're trying to update the website right now, so it's not going so good.
Oh, that's cool. All right. Well,
Yeah,
let me know when that gets cured.
I will do that. There's
I
always
still keep
some.
typing in website. It doesn't help. Mine does. A couple other things on schedule, Mark. Tough Enough, and our friend Jeff Meyer with Barry Meyer's Tough Enough has an event coming up in May. That's going to be another great event. But Jeff went, I guess it was last week, in front of the Nevada Athletic Commission, and you have to submit the dates that you'd like to have your events on. And it's pretty rare that they okay everything, and they okayed every last one of them for Tough Enough, and we'd like to congratulate them. And amateur sports, we talked about amateur sports. If you're an MMA fan, it only makes sense that these kids have to have a logical way to come to the front, to be able to show without getting the crap beat out of them by a veteran, to show some talent, and that means developmental leagues or developmental arenas, and that's what Tough Enough is. They are the preeminent amateur MMA organization in the world, and there is no better. If you look at who has been in that group and gone on to MMA fame, I think the lady on the top of the list right now is Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
She honed her skills, and now she's making big money for everybody. Randy Couture's son Ryan Couture come up through Tough Enough. Frank Mir, former heavyweight champion of the world, and had his cousin Larry come up through Tough Enough. Dana White's nephew fought in Tough Enough, and it goes on and on and on. It is the penultimate amateur organization. Jeff's doing a tremendous job. Barry unfortunately lost his life to depression. He took his life a year and a half ago, something like that. There's something up on my Facebook page that Jeff sent last night about preventing depression. Depression seems to go hand in hand with holidays and also major sporting events, Mark, for whatever reason, whether it's wagering or that anticipation, or I don't know exactly what the medical causes are. I just know that they show that rates go up, suicide rates go up. Certainly, I think it's no secret that at holiday times rates go up. People feel the loneliness of depression in and of itself, and then they get reminded you got nobody that really gives a damn about you. Nobody even invited you over for Easter dinner, and they kill themselves, or Christmas dinner, or whatever it is. And then the major sporting events also bring out that same, maybe not to the same degree. and this weekend's going to be the double whammy. So we would like to say to everybody, man, if you're, we care. Somebody somewhere cares. So please, don't take a permanent solution to a temporary problem, and that's what suicide is. So
Yeah, exactly.
anyway, we do that. Like I say, our friend Barry Meyer, you've never known a nicer man, a guy who gave up a very lucrative career to follow his dreams, and that was to do amateur MMA. So anyhow,
Right.
Major League Baseball, Mark, baseball season be starting.
Yeah.
Do you know
Baseball.
the difference between betting on baseball and betting on basketball? You can go up to the race and sports book, the same window, and tell the guy I want to bet on Duke, or I want to bet on Kentucky, and he's going to do something different than if you go up and say I want to bet on the Dodgers. Do you know what it is?
No.
When you're talking about basketball, for the most part, and football, for the most part, it is a run line, and that means it is a point spread. What I mean, and so in baseball they have the same thing is called a run line, but they score so few runs, and hockey they score so few goals that it really is not a very workable system. So in those two sports they have the money line, and there is a correlation, but in football, you pay 11 to win 10. You like Kentucky, they're favored by 6. You lay your money down, and the man takes in $22. You took Kentucky, and somebody else took Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's going to get within 6 points. The bookie takes in 22. He pays out 21 because one of you is going to win, and for your $11, you get to win 10. That means there's $22 in the kitty. He only has to pay out 21. That's how come bookies drive new cars. In basketball, in baseball and hockey, winner take all. So to adjust a team being at home, or one team being better than the other, or whatever it is, to handicap that particular event, they say, okay, they're going to win, but say they play 10 times, Kentucky and Wisconsin would play 10 times, and Kentucky would win 7 out of those 10. So that makes them a 7-3 mathematical favorite as far as we can see, and they figure that out to how much money is that, and then they adjust that appropriately. So say if you want to bet on Kentucky, this is the money line part. If you would want to bet on Kentucky, you have to put down $200 to win 100, and on Wisconsin you put down the 100 because they're the underdog to win 150. Well, there again, we took in 200 and 100. That's $300. If Wisconsin covers, we only pay out 250. This schmuck wins 150 for his 100. Okay? If Kentucky wins, they've paid 200 to win the 100 that I got from this cat that bet on Wisconsin. That's how it works in baseball too. You have a money line, and the difference between those two lines is the difference, the biggerish. That's the money that the bookies get to keep for holding your money in their hands.
Right.
And so that's the major difference. So winner take all. You don't have to win by anything other than just win the game for the most part. And they have gone to, they will accommodate you. You can one run. You can change the difference of the betting amount, the money line amount, by conceding a run or a run and a half or something like that. Same way in hockey, you can concede a goal, so a team would have to win by 2 goals for you to collect, and you pay a much less amount to win. But now you've incorporated the two, so those are kind of bastardized, exotic kind of wagers. But anyway, it is somewhat of a slow season now. So soon as Monday's over, the race and sportsbooks start handing out furloughs.
Yes.
Because baseball just doesn't elicit the betting support. They have great. I mean, they have great fandom. They just don't have the betting support that football has, and without betting, football would just not be near as popular.
Well, baseball is like horse racing. You've got the bettors there. They fill up the room, but they don't bet as heavily on a per game basis. They're just there to just kind of not be home with the wife. So
Yeah, and baseball just has you got diehard Red Sox fans, and expansion watered down. Since I was a kid, they talked about expansion watering down the talent level, and yeah, it did. There were guys pitching in the majors that had no right to be up there. They were AAA or AA players, but because there was more teams and there was talent to go around, they went. Some of them stuck. Some of them learned their trade in the majors. They played on crappy teams because they didn't have that chance to come through the farm system, and so that expansion watered down um, the talent level in baseball, and people kind of lost interest. And then the international guys started showing up in droves. Minnie Minoso just died. He was the first of a long line of Cuban players. And then you had Roberto Clemente come up. And I have a baseball card, Bob Clemente. He wasn't Roberto, he was Bob Clemente, because they didn't it was a bias against the Latino players. Now, with what President Obama has done with Cuba, or what our government has done with Cuba, in finally relaxing that, we're going to see an influx of Cuban players. We talked about the Olympics and their effect, Mark. Our boxing, for the most part, has one of the things you can trace back to the demise of boxing is the demise of the amateur boxing here in America. We didn't produce many gold medal winners. I mean, we had the team, you look in 76 when you had Aaron Pryor and Sugar Ray Leonard, and I think we had 5 gold medal winners. Man, boxing was the thing, and it sustained boxing for years and years and years. Every 4 years, if we have a good boxing team, we wait for those guys to turn pro, and we follow their careers. And so we didn't get that because our boxing teams have been so crappy for so long, just because of how the rules are set up. It's not guys kind of go pro on their own. They don't follow the protocol. So it takes the Olympics to re-energize that. We haven't had that here in America, and it has hurt. In baseball, they people were going to other things. The guys that play, your athletes were going to basketball, or where the spotlight was, as opposed to playing baseball, or even going to soccer, and those different kinds of things that are available to them. And it hurt. And now with this Cuban, these guys don't have to come over on a raft anymore. They don't have
right,
to go by way of Mexico and Costa Rica and Guatemala and Antarctica to get here. They're just going to be able to come here, and it's going to be a huge influx into baseball and talent. The Cuban invasion has been going on for some time, but it's been a trickle. It's about to be a flood, and I think you're going to see baseball re-energized simply because of the talent that comes in, that doesn't have to spend a great deal of time in the minors to get their games ready to play Major League Baseball. So you're going to see that jump here very quickly, Mark.
cool.
But
All right.
look at what the Olympics. Look what the dream team, our dream team, did with Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and Patrick Ewing and on and on and on, Larry Bird, all the tremendous players that were on that team. Look how they invigorated basketball, and what
Yes.
they did for basketball worldwide. It doesn't take much to ignite that fire that the fans fan into a raging fire of interest or whatever. And entire generations of basketball fans are now fans of this particular sport rather than some other particular sport because of that dream team. And and I don't think we're going to see many more of those. Mark, Kevin Durant. I've got the photos of Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Paul George playing one-on-one basketball after Basketball USA practices ended. And I was amazed to watch them play and how much they put out. Well, now Paul George has broken his leg. Kevin Durant's out for the season with leg problems. These guys are beat down, and it's going to be that vicious circle. Our pros, our top tier pros, are just not gonna. They're not going to do the Tom Brady jump off the cliff. That's safer than just continually playing basketball. Brady doesn't play football for fun after he's done playing football for the Patriots. I just don't think he suits up and tries out for the high school team. And these guys don't get any time off from basketball, and it's showing wear and tear on their bodies. And it is a financial decision. You're talking about guys that making, bringing in 40, 50 mil a year, and if your career is over, look at Derrick Rose. and the injuries that he has sustained, he just plays basketball continuously. LeBron wisely took off from this last year's World Championship team. He was tired of playing basketball for a little bit, and you look at that team, man. Everybody that was substantial has had some type of injury problems. Kobe Bryant. You go right down the list, Mark. So I think you're going to see guys and their agents have that heart-to-heart talk, and their wives and their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And, wait a minute, Dad. Here, I'll buy you an American flag, and I'll play the national anthem. Go out back and show me how to dunk a basketball. But how about you stay home from Barcelona or Sochi or wherever the Olympics are? And I think you're going to see that. Yeah. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Shall we call it a night? Shall we head to the bar?
I guess we can. Let's invite everybody out to Twin Paeks out there on Eastern. Eastern and what is it? Eastern and Serene? Eastern and Silverado Ranch? Yeah, I think it's Eastern and Serene.
Yeah, it's just past Walmart.
And that's on the 10th. It'll be up on the site. The Vegas Lions opening season this spring season, playing their games at Sierra Vista High School here on I believe it's on Robindale, Mark. The 11th, their first game, and they're playing that scrappy team out of Arizona, and it ought to be a real good game, very entertaining. We look forward to starting the season and getting things going. Wish the Vegas Lions well, as we do all our listeners. Mark, it's always a pleasure to do the show with you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I will. We're gonna double dip. We're planning a special show for 420, by the way, which is a Monday. So it ought to be a smoking show.
Yeah.
So, we'll have Cheech and Chong on as our guest analyst. So, all right, man. Folks, thanks for listening. Mark, any last words, buddy?
See you next week.
See you next week. All right. For all of us here at Good Sports, and I'm Rick Rosen for Mark Anthony. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again next week. Stay tuned to Good Sports. Bye-bye.